Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Welcome to True Crime to Go. What can I get for you?
I want you to tell me a story about redemption and overcoming bad habits, but then show me the habits.
Pull up to the second window and we'll see you next crime.
Welcome to True Crime to Go. I'm John with a little bit of a raspy voice here with Jamie. How you doing, man?
I'm good, Raspy John. I have a nice voice. I mean, for me, it's not a good voice, but
somehow I think my voice is nicer like this.
It's as good as my voice is ever going to get. So you're not sick, but you say that. If I sound like this next week, people will know that you lied to my face.
Well,
speaking of being a liar,
weird kind of sick if I do because I feel great.
You sound and look terrible.
Thank you.
Just kidding. Yeah, today's case is one about a guy who, they say that tigers can't change their stripes. And I think this is, is that what they say? Or
Who
they say
has
zebras?
ever said that? I've never heard it about either of those animals.
Well, this guy didn't, so why don't you get us rolling?
January of 2026, a man walked into a bank in Denver wearing a bright orange jacket and a floppy black beanie.
I imagine everybody in Denver wears that, so...
I was going to say, were we in Denver at this time? But no, we had gotten back. He approached the teller and made a demand. It was simple, direct, and familiar because this was not his first rodeo.
In fact, this guy had been a bank robber, wrote a book about his life of crime, published an autobiography detailing his previous crimes and his time in prison for those crimes. He detailed his experience in a criminal lifestyle that most people don't get to see in movies. What is it like hiding out? What is it like planning a crime? What is it like being on the run? He published this book, but then he went right back to it.
Yeah, his name is Charles Christopher Martinez, 48-year-old convicted theft and a self-published author. At some point after serving time for earlier crimes, he did something unusual. He wrote a book, an autobiography called The Life of an Outlaw.
It's a good title for a book.
In it, he described his past as a criminal, including the bank robberies, what it was like to live inside a federal prison, and his connections to gang activity.
Yeah, and the book really does go into great detail about what he's done in the past. But going back to January, it was a U.S. bank that he went into, and after he made his demand, he fled the scene. And one detail remains unclear, and that's whether or not he got away with any actual money. Some say he did, and some say he didn't, but he was arrested 3 days later on January 8th. And of course, they know who he is, they know his record, and he's likely going back to prison. He hasn't been tried for this yet, so maybe I should say allegedly, but he's going to go back to prison for this, John. I know that a lot of the crimes that we cover are serial offenders, whether that's murder, theft, fraud, whatever it may be. But I don't know that we've ever seen somebody go public about what they've done after they serve their time and then get back into it.
You would think that like banks would have this guy's picture up. Like this guy wrote a book on how he did it.
Right.
He literally wrote the book on this and now he's here.
I think about the movie Catch Me If You Can about Frank Abagnale. And
that is exactly what I was thinking about.
And him actually helping the FBI at some point. But I don't think this guy was writing the book for that reason. I think he was trying to make the money. He wasn't making robbing banks anymore. If he's convicted of this, he could serve more than 20 more years in prison, or up to 20 more years. So wouldn't get out until he's around 70. And at this point, I would say if this happens and he goes back to prison and he gets out, I'd bet money he'd try it again.
Yeah, and he would have the money because he's a bank robber. I think there needs to be stricter punishment. Like if you get out of prison and go back and do the same thing again, we're just locking you up and throwing away the key, buckaroo.
Yeah, you obviously didn't learn your lesson, so we can't trust you out of here. It's like if my kids go to a certain place and get involved in an activity I don't want them to go to, they're punished, they go do the same thing again. I'm like, you just can't go back there anymore. You've lost that privilege. And for him, that out there is Earth.
Yeah. So if he is convicted, because right now he's innocent until proven otherwise,
Allegedly.
just throw away the key.
Yep, I completely agree. I was just blown away at the fact that he wrote a book about it and then went back and did it. I don't know how. We've covered a lot of dumb criminals, but that's near the top of the list for me, and that has been a crime story in 10 minutes or less.
Would you like crime with that?
You've listened to True Crimecast, distributed by Stoveleg Media. Check out stoveleg.com to find out more about your hosts and to find other podcasts to listen to. Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.